Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining today. My name is Kristen McKnight. I work here at WGU in our Office of Career and Professional Development. We're so excited to have you all here today for our information session with CrowdStrike. So I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Melanie, who's going to be telling you all a little bit more about the organization and the opportunities that they have available.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Hi, folks. My name is Melanie. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a campus recruiter on the university recruiting team here at CrowdStrike. And I am so excited to be part of your Career Quest itinerary for this session. For today's agenda, we will be starting off first with a brief information session before I invite some folks from the CrowdStrike team who are also either alum or current students from WGU. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that way we can kick things off. And so to get us started here, I do have a QR code for you all to quote unquote check in. This will be really helpful for my team because at the end of this session, I would love to ensure that we are getting all of the roles, everything that we talked about, our contact information to you in an email afterwards. And so go ahead and give a few moments for you all to scan this QR code, just drop your basic contact information if you feel comfortable doing so. That way we can stay connected after this event. And every time I do this, every time I share this with students, I always wish I had some sort of music in the background, but alas, I never think of it until the day of. So um, again, I will have this QR code at the end of the presentation / end of the event as well, in case if there are any folks who do come in a little bit late. And Kristen, I can also ensure that you are on the follow-up communications too, so you can send this out to any of the students who do either trickle in later or they aren't able to make the session and are watching the recording. That way they can stay up to date on everything CrowdStrike. And so with that, I am going to move forward into the next slide here, which again breaks down the agenda a little bit more in detail. And so we are going to get started with a brief introduction. We're going to talk a little bit more about who CrowdStrike is, what we do before heading into what our internship program is. And then I'd love to share brief notes about our scholarship program as well as ways to stay connected. Then I'm going to invite some folks from the CrowdStrike team to join us for an open Q&A. So with that, a little bit about CrowdStrike and who we are. So we are a cloud-based cybersecurity company, and we were founded to essentially create a more sophisticated solution as we found, as our founders found out, that a lot of the attacks were becoming more sophisticated and the technology was not keeping up with it. And so CrowdStrike was founded to solve that problem, and it's something that we are still actively working on today, which is very exciting. And here at CrowdStrike, as you can see from this lovely map graphic that we have here, we are actually just under 8,000 CrowdStrikers strong, and we have 28 global offices. And I know that y'all here at WGU are also fairly spread out across the country, which is very exciting. And so chances are anywhere you are, there likely is a CrowdStriker near you, or we have an office near you, which is very exciting. As you can see from the map, we also are a global company. And so what that means is working on a global team, working to ensure that we're helping folks all across the globe. And for some of the teams that you'll be able to meet a little bit later today, we also do have a 24/7 follow the sun model, which means we'll be able to have coverage from our friends out in, say, Australia, as well as in the UK, to ensure that we have a good work-life balance. But with that, I'm going to hop into the next slide where we can learn a little bit more about what we like to say here at CrowdStrike. We like to say that we don't have a mission, but rather we are on a mission. And that mission is to stop breaches. That is our bread and butter. That is our sole focus here at CrowdStrike. And I think that especially at CrowdStrike, we do things a little bit differently because of our core values. And I would be remiss to not talk about our core values during this presentation because it really does showcase how we do things here. And it's really embedded in our DNA. And so our three core values are being fanatical about the customer, believing that relentless focus on innovation is key. And lastly, which is one of my favorites within recruiting, is the idea that limitless passion creates unlimited potential. And through any interaction you'll probably have with a CrowdStriker, you'll be able to see these core values shine through because we are very focused on our customers, whether that is our external customers who are either using our products, using our services, or interacting with us in any sort of way, or even for folks like myself who are on an internal support team. Our quote unquote customers for my team could be our hiring managers or our interns, and we want to be able to provide the best service and be able to provide the best experience for them. And whenever I think of CrowdStrikers, the first thing that comes to my mind is the idea of selflessness. I think it's really great to be able to be so focused on our customers, on our end product together. And we can't do that without being relentlessly focused on innovation. That means continuing to challenge each other to do better, ensuring that diversity, equity, and inclusion is at the forefront of what we do, such as creating the most inclusive application that we can so folks are able to use it so it's accessible to all. Or even it could be creating a very seamless flow for anybody to be able to use it. And so, whether that's going out to technical or non technical folks, the language is still very inclusive and also very accessible. And lastly, we also want to ensure that our CrowdStrikers still have lots of opportunities to continue to grow. And that's where we are able to harness that unlimited potential. In events like these, I like to look out to whether it's the in person or virtual crowd like today. There is a lot of really bright students I know attending this event, and there is a lot of potential that we like to see here, especially for our internship program to continue to grow and develop those skill sets. And so here at CrowdStrike, we also like to invest in our employees, provide them with lots of opportunities to develop in their career, to level up, to maybe even diversify their skill set, because we want to ensure that we are able to continue to grow and to, of course, be able to better our teams. And that's what we like to say here at CrowdStrike is that at the end of the day, we are one team on one fight. And this is something that you've probably seen on our websites or other CrowdStrike materials. But this is just an idea of our core values in action there. But with that, hopefully this gets you a bit jazzed about CrowdStrike now that you have a little bit about our background. And now popping into our internship program. Yes, my team is still hiring, which we are very excited about. So this career quest came at the perfect time for us. And for any of y'all who have seen any of our job postings, you probably would have noticed that a lot of our roles are fully remote, which is very exciting. It means that we have a really wonderful, flexible system here for our employees. Anywhere you work, really, as long as you get your work done, doesn't really matter because we trust our employees. So if you prefer to just work at home, if you prefer to work in the office, if you are super outdoorsy and you'd like to work next to a lake and you're able to get great Wi-Fi out there in nature, awesome. We love to see it and we support it. We want to ensure that we recognize and that you recognize that work is just one part of your life and it's not your entire life. And so we love to see our employees be able to take advantage of what a remote first culture is. And of course, this also means being a little bit more creative when we do have any opportunities to connect with each other. Even before the pandemic, CrowdStrike was about 70% remote. And so we already have a pretty solid process in place to ensure that CrowdStrikers still feel connected, even though we are operating remotely and in a distributed workforce. And so, what this can look like would be virtual socials and networking events. We have our employer resource groups, also known as affinity groups or business resource groups, depending on any company that you also might be looking into. They have a lot of different names out there. And we also have, of course, opportunities for in person touch points as well, whether that is through team meetings or maybe in person social gatherings every now and then to, of course, ensure that you are also aware of the other CrowdStrikers in your area. And so our employee experience team does a lot to ensure that we have these important touch points to connect. And on my team within university recruiting, as you can see in the photos here on the right hand side, we have a variety of opportunities to get our interns together both in the office and virtually to ensure that they also have opportunities to connect with each other and other CrowdStrikers in other departments as well. And so we definitely do keep these intentional connections in mind. So, with that, moving into what our internship program will look like now that you have an idea of some of the fun socials that go on. Depending on the role that you're interested in, it could be anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks long over the summer. The majority of our internship opportunities are going to be 12 weeks long, except for the our excuse me, is that 4-hour sales team, which is going to be 8 weeks long over the summer. And that will encompass both our non-technical sales team, which is our sales excellence elite position. That is on track to lead into a sales development representative role. We also have our technical sales positions, such as our sales tech, as well as our solutions architect positions, which also, again, will be 8 weeks long. They will have their own curriculum, but they will be in tandem with the sales excellence elite role. So in case if you were a little bit curious about their timeline, all that information will be posted on the job description. But regardless, if your program's 8 weeks long or 12 weeks long, all of our interns will be assigned a mentor over the summer. That way, they have a better idea of what the path looks like ahead for them. Usually, our mentors are intern conversions. So, these are folks who have been in our intern's shoes before, or they're maybe in a role that's just not too far away ahead from our interns. And of course, our interns are working on real projects over the summer to contribute to the department's major initiatives. And what that looks like would be ongoing one on one feedback, working on a global team, and of course, being able to see the result and the impact of their project. Because at the end of the internship, we want our interns to be able to point at something and say, hey, this is what I did. This is awesome. I feel like I've grown so much over this summer, and I am excited to continue to build upon this work. And so, work aside here, we also have a good number of professional development opportunities and other intern program events for our interns to really immerse themselves in the CrowdStrike culture. Whether that's being able to connect with our executive leaders through our fireside chats or get to chat with some of our leaders on the front lines, such as our product and engineering team, to our professional services team, to our folks in another managed services team, or in our counter adversary operations team, who are doing lots of really important research to ensure that our customers are staying up to date on what's going on out in the world. Of course, we also have opportunities for our interns to continue to level up their skill set through various learning and development workshops, opportunities to present their projects at the end of the summer, and also to be what we call a lead intern, which is another great opportunity for our interns to take on an additional leadership opportunity to help us build out fun socials, to engage with the other interns, and to really be a leader in their intern cohort. Lastly, another wonderful highlight of our internship program is that, yes, of course, it is a paid role, which means we have paid holidays. So if you think of anything like 4th of July, it's a holiday. Our interns get paid for the day. They don't have to work, which is wonderful. But we also do have a 401k program, which I am excited about and something that I love to share with our interns because you can start saving up for your retirement even before you complete your internship position, which is pretty cool. And so this is just our internship program in a nutshell and some of our very exciting, fun socials and benefits that we have here. And with that, hopefully again, it gets you all jazzed about some of the roles that we have available on our careers page. I believe we have 20 postings within the United States, which is very exciting. And so if you go into our careers page, which I will be sending out to you all after this session, we have lots of opportunities within our counter adversary operations team. Majority of those roles are going to be under our intelligence team. We also have opportunities for our software engineering folks out there, folks who are interested in data science and data engineering and machine learning. We also do have a good number of positions within our IT and customer success teams as well. And in the off chance we might have some folks interested in the non-technical realm here, we are hiring for a lot of interns within our HR department, as well as our sales development team. So again, all of these are currently posted on our careers page, and I definitely recommend that you apply as soon as possible because we are towards the tail end of the application process where we're ready to move folks into screens and interviews. And so again, I recommend putting in your application by the end of day tomorrow if possible. But with that, about the application and interview process. So once you submit your application, whether that's directly on our careers page, whether that's through Handshake or Ripple Match or LinkedIn, another job board, once you apply for any of our technical roles, such as any of our software engineering or data science positions, there will be a technical assessment through either HackerRank or Cyber Skyline. For our engineering data science roles, it will be done on a platform called HackerRank. For any of our cybersecurity-based roles, such as anything within our professional services organization or our Falcon Complete team, these are our managed services team, they will be done on Cyber Skyline. And if you aren't familiar with either of the two platforms, that's totally okay. When we do send out the assessment, there will always be a practice test. That way you have an idea of what the questions could look like and what the platform is like, so you can play around with it before hopping into the real assessment. So once you complete the assessment, usually the time frame is anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the type of position. The next step is just to hop into our final interview stage, which will include one recruiter screen. So it could be conversation with myself or one of my teammates. It'll be about 15 minutes long just to learn a little bit more about your interest and your background. And then we'll move you forward into the interviews with the team. And usually that will consist of a technical interview if it's a technical role, as well as a behavioral interview. And so, either way, regardless of the positions, usually around 2 interviews. They will both be virtual, anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes long. And your interviewer, or excuse me, your recruiter will be there to guide you and provide you some tips and tricks along the way to help you best prepare for these interviews. And so, again, to recap, once you apply for any technical roles, you'll go through assessment. For non technical roles, you'll skip the assessment phase and go straight into the interviews, which is one recruiter screen and 2 interviews with the team. And we like to work fairly quickly here at CrowdStrike, so you're not just sitting and waiting for an update. So I would say about from start to finish, it could take up to 2 months. Once you apply to that offer stage. Awesome. Now, moving into some fun information, a little bit outside of the internship program, but something that I would love to share with all of you, which is our Next Gen Scholarship Program. And applications will open in a few months as we head closer to the spring. But this is a great opportunity for any of you who are interested in continuing your education within the cybersecurity realm or in AI. And our social impact team does a phenomenal job of selecting even more and more winners each year. And all of our scholarship recipients receive $10,000 to go towards their tuition. And so, again, applications aren't out yet. They will be out in the spring, but definitely keep an eye out for it because it is a wonderful way to not only continue learning, but also to learn a little bit more about CrowdStrike during the process. Awesome. And lastly, I also just wanted to highlight other ways that we can stay in touch. And so, again, aside from finding our roles on our careers page, on Handshake, LinkedIn, Ripple Match, you can also find us just by emailing us at university.recruiting@crowdstrike.com. This is a real email. My team checks it. And so you are welcome to email us at any point if you have questions, if you want to stay in touch along the way. And again, by filling out the form that was from the QR code earlier in this presentation, you will also receive some extra communications from my team. That way you will be able to receive monthly newsletters from us to highlight some of our open roles and any of the recruiting events that we will be at. That way we will, of course, be able to stay in touch. But with that, I just wanted to take a moment to pause here to see if you all have any questions about anything that I'd covered before we hop into our open Q&A session with some fellow CrowdStrikers. And I will also go ahead and stop sharing. That way I can see you all in case if we are getting any questions that are live here.
And I'll go ahead and set it so that you can unmute yourselves if you would prefer to unmute yourself versus just putting your questions in the chat.
All right. It looks like we've got a question from Samuel.
Yes, thank you. I was curious if sales positions are considered technical or not.
Yes, great question. It depends on the type of sales role. So we have some of our non-technical sales roles, so ones that lead into our sales development representative role, as well as a programs coordinator position. But for the more of the technical roles, such as our solution architect and sales tech internship positions, technically, yes, they are on the technical sense, but they don't require technical assessment. But I will say that the interview process will include more technical questions, such as diving a little bit deeper into some of the projects or previous experiences where you have used XYZ tools. And it will still, of course, lean a little bit more into the communication aspect because it is still very customer facing, and we want to ensure that you feel comfortable in the role being both very technical but also very non-technical.
Thank you.
Of course. All
It
right.
looks like we got a lot of internship questions in the
Mhm.
chat. Can alumni participate in the internship program, or is it only for current students?
Awesome. Great questions. Oh, yes. I'm also pulling up the chat here. So we have a lot of similar questions here. So for the majority of our internship positions, they are for folks who are within 1 year of graduating. So for summer of 2024 internship positions, typically teams are looking for folks who are graduating between December of 2024 to June of 2025. We do have some positions that the team is open to folks graduating in 2026. And then every now and then, we do have a request from some teams to hire folks who are graduating right before the summer. So I recommend taking a peek at our careers page. It will usually list out the preferred graduation date. And so for any of my folks who are graduating this spring or have graduated within the past month or so, definitely take a peek at the careers page. But if you don't have any of the internship opportunities that align with your graduation date, if you have already graduated, I recommend when you are searching for any of our full-time positions, usually keywords like associate or coordinator or any role titled say like engineer one, those are really good indicators that they are for folks who are jumpstarting their career. So it's a little bit more of an early career position. Typically, my team does not recruit for those roles. That's for our industry recruiters, but just want to give you all a heads up in case if the careers page does get a little bit busy when we do have more postings up. Awesome.
And I think that answers somebody had asked about new grad roles.
Mhm.
You know, they will come up. It's just a matter of finding them when they do come up.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Somebody asked about the behavioral part of the interview. If you could talk more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will honestly be more of a high level because each team will have their own questions and specific things that they're looking for. But from the conversations I've had with hiring managers, a lot of them are looking for really passionate individuals. And so they really love to drill down on your interest in the role, what you are interested in doing long term. So maybe in 5 years, after the internship, after you complete your degree, what are you interested in pursuing and continuing to grow in, as well as what you like to do on your free time. Maybe if you're in an extracurricular, or for any of you who might have like a home lab, that's also really great to talk about too, because it showcases that this is something that you are not only learning in your classes, but something that you are taking extra time to continue to build upon, something that you are investing your time into. And so that is something that is really great to share during the behavioral interview. And for both behavioral as well as technical as well, because this is something I've had a few hiring managers share with me, is that being able to showcase your communication in a way where you are able to storytell maybe what you did, how you were able to solve a problem, what you learned from it, as well as, for example, any of our customer facing roles. It's very important to be able to showcase your strength in communication, whether that's both written, verbal, any form of communication during these interviews, because it also is going to be really important for the position down the line. And so you can treat it as a conversation, but also know that it's a really great way for the team to learn more about you and also to see if it is a really great fit for this team, or maybe if they think, seeing, if this is something you want to do maybe 5, 10 years down the line, you'd be a better fit for another team. Why don't we have you considered for that? And so that's something that has also come up during some of our conversations with some of our students here.
And a
I have a
shameless
question.
plug, if you need interview help, really quick, shameless plug if you need interview help, is that WGU Career Services is available to you even after you graduate for free for life. So definitely take advantage of that for interview assistance. Yes, feel free to go ahead with your question now, Nick. Sorry.
Okay, can you give us a ratio of applicants to accept these?
Ooh,
Like,
that is
just ballpark. You probably don't have all the numbers, but just ballpark. What's our competition like?
That is a really good question. Also, one that is hard to answer because it does vary based on our roles. I will say we do get a lot more applicants for our technical positions, such as our software engineering roles, or any of our data science positions, than some of our more niche roles, say within HR. Um, but what I want to say is that we do get applications in the thousands, even for positions where we only have one or two positions open. And so um, that does provide a little bit of the picture into maybe why it does take a little bit of time for us to be able to get back to you on next steps when we are first in that reviewing stage. But um, hopefully that doesn't discourage you all from applying, because there are times when we do see folks who apply for a role. Maybe they're not the best fit for the role that they applied for, but that recruiter, whether it's myself or another team member, is also recruiting for another position, and we think you could be a better fit for it. And so hopefully that'll also provide a little bit more context into what goes on behind the scenes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, a great question.
Another question that came in was if there was any way to continue employment past the 12 weeks, or would the permanent position only happen after graduation?
Great question. And I would say for our internship program, we do hire with the intention to convert our interns. And so, what that process will typically look like is once they complete the 12 weeks over the summer, um, usually students will go back to school depending on the team's bandwidth. If there is a mutual agreement that the team is interested in having the intern stay on for part-time during the school year, and the student also has bandwidth to take on part-time work, that is something that can happen. But of course, a lot of our students are like, actually, it's my final year, I want to focus on just graduating. We have a lot of projects to get through, and so with that, sometimes they might not continue their internship during the school year, but they will, of course, still have an opportunity to be considered for a full-time opportunity. Of course, if the internship goes well, we have some milestones and checkpoints over the summer to ensure that our interns are on track. And again, we do hire our interns with the intention to convert. And so this is something that's top of mind for our hiring managers during the interview process as well, even before the intern offer is extended. And so to go back to the original question of, would a permanent position only happen post grad? Yes. The full-time start date would be after the student slash intern completes their degree.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Another question that had come in was, what's the technical assessment like for data science or any other data roles that might be available?
Yes, that is a great question. And I'm also doing a quick time check here. So I think this will be my last question before I invite our CrowdStrikers to the open Q&A panel, because I'd love for you all to meet them too, and they can provide some really great context into some of our positions as well. And so for our data science slash data engineering slash database positions, I would say that what we've done in the past is a little bit different from some of the traditional, say, data focused assessments, because there is a component of research in the position. And so you can actually expect to do quite a bit of writing, quite a bit of explaining your thought process into how you go about solving the problem, in addition to, say, providing, a standard solution. And so what we've done, or what I've seen in the past for some of our assessments, of course, there will be some basic questions on, you know, basic data foundation questions to ensure that you have a solid foundation. But when it comes down to some of our questions that are almost like a paragraph answer, if you will, to explain your thought process, that is something that I would recommend maybe practicing for, or maybe brushing up on, because this is something that our hiring managers do go in and look into, because not only does it a great way to showcase your written communication, but also say how you think, how you were able to problem solve. If you maybe you aren't sure what the answer is, at least some of the questions that you would consider when answering this question, how you'd go about solving it is really important. And so that's an example of what the assessment has looked like in the past, and something that the team has found a lot of success in, because it's also a really great primer for the interview down the line, because a lot of our teams do go back and ask questions about the assessment, how they thought about it, or excuse me, what they thought about it, and also working through the questions together. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
of course.
Okay.
Oh, with that, I would love to invite my fellow CrowdStrikers to join me in this virtual stage here. I have Alessandra here. I have Easy here to share a little bit more about their CrowdStrike journey as well, and to, of course, answer your questions. I see there's so many questions in the chat, so thank you all for that. But yes, I will allow my two CrowdStrikers to go ahead and introduce themselves, so you all get to know them a little bit better.
Hey y'all, my name's Ephraim. I've been working at CrowdStrike for 3 years. I should say I go by Easy. It's my initials. It was a nickname given me by my mentor and just kind of stuck since then. So yeah, I've been with CrowdStrike for 3 years. I work on Falcon Complete as an analyst, but I started as an associate way when our associate team was first being built out within San Antonio. So I've been here a while. I've had a lot of insight into a lot of different projects that have been developed in my time here. And honestly, I really have nothing but positive things to say about my time here. It's been absolutely awesome and wonderful. And I'm happy to be here and happy to answer questions. Thank you, guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexandra. I just go by Ali. I've been at CrowdStrike for about a little over a year and a half. Before that, I was over at Motorola Solutions, pretty much just doing SOC stuff. But very much like Easy, I can only say positive things about CrowdStrike. Every experience I've had here has been a good one. It's been challenging, but it's definitely been a great learning experience, and just a lot of growth has happened for me professionally being here. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time out of your days to join us here, and to also share a little bit more about your background with the attendees. And so, to kick off our panel Q&A here, I just want to start us off with a question before we open it up to the rest of the students here, because I know we've talked quite a bit about the different roles that we have here, as well as some of the technical skills that folks are looking for, what the process is like. But I also want to take a moment to highlight a little bit more about our CrowdStrike culture here. And so, a question for the two of you: what is your work-life balance like?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start us off here. So I think that's really the beauty that I love about it with working at CrowdStrike. It can, the work-life balance can be as balanced as you want it to be, right? There have been times where I've had a mission and that's all that I really was focusing on, right? And there's times where I've had, well, no mission, no goal or cert to be working towards, and it's just been a beautiful balance of go in, do my thing. I'm not super exhausted by the end, and then I come out and will do my normal life stuff, right? Uh, I really do love the flexibility in the balance because if you're in the mindset of just wanting to grind something out and then take a break, which is what I tend to do, I'll have stretches of working towards something and then a couple weeks of a break. Uh, I think the environment here really does support that. And I love it. I love it.
I definitely agree with Easy. Work-life balance. I can tell you at my previous role, it was very hard to separate the two, just because when I was purely remote, it was a struggle actually getting myself to get off of work, because I knew that the team coming in after me, maybe they were coming into the queues being very heavy. And so I always wanted to try and help them get their day started by staying on a little bit longer. And by a little bit longer, it would probably extend to like 8 p.m. at night. So that was always a struggle for me. But here it's like I get to leave work at work and actually go home and just, do the things that I want to do, whether that's focusing on a cert. Right now, I'm currently at WGU getting my master's in cybersecurity. So right now, it's actually focusing on that more than anything. But I mean, I can say that I have a life now. So
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for sharing that and providing a little bit more insight into what our CrowdStrike work-life balance is like, but also specifically for your teams and some of the experiences that you have had in the past. And so now opening up to our students here for any questions they have. Again, feel free to drop it in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand and mute yourself and ask it live, that's also a-okay. And so, oh, okay. We have a question in the chat here. What do you like the most about working at CrowdStrike?
um, for me, it's just being able to be challenged every single day. Um, I know that alert fatigue is a very real thing, but as far as what my day-to-day looks like, it's very different every single day, which is really nice. So I definitely can say that I am no longer fatigued or burnt out with what I'm doing. And also the people that I work with are probably some of the smartest people I think I've ever met in my life. I thought, I was, a big baller coming in, being a senior SOC analyst in my previous role, and not coming in here, I'm just like, oh my God, like I don't know everything. So I mean, just being surrounded by very, very intelligent people and people just share the same interests as you is awesome.
Oh, absolutely. So I definitely can't pick just one. I got to talk about two honestly over here. So uh, adding a bit to what Ali said, yeah, the people here are really what make it for me. I mean, it's part of the reason I've been here so long. I've been here 3 years, and I should mention that this is before this. I was at WGU, right? I graduated from there and then became an associate here, right? So I didn't have the opportunity to experience well, a SOC besides Falcon Complete where I'm at, right? And so there's a lot of nervousness going into it. But now that I'm here, and now that I've been here 3 years, I'm safe. I'm really happy to say that it's still in the 3 years I've been here hasn't really felt like a job. I just have too much fun. I enjoy every single day. I look forward to it. It's been amazing because of the people, especially. Everybody's very open with each other. There's a general sense of a really strong sense actually of community within our teams, especially because of what we all like kind of go through working on these incidents and whatnot. We just the sense of community that's built from that. We're always like we're brothers and sisters here, you know. We support each other, and no one hides knowledge or anything like that. It's just like, hey, let me explain this to you in such insane detail that you're gonna keep going, it's awesome, and it's a perfect place to learn, and that's the second thing that I like the most. I have same thing with Ali. I thought I was him before this, right? And then I met my mentor, and that man really humbled me, and I learned so much from him. And I've learned so much from so many people here, and I keep learning new and new things from more and more people. It's really beautiful to always be learning something else every single day from really really smart people and really smart teachers as well.
Yeah, and that actually leads perfectly into a question that we saw in the chat here. And so I know you had mentioned your mentor is easy, and Ali, you had mentioned working on some certifications. And so, question for the both of you: does CrowdStrike provide resources to further your education?
Yes, 100%. Whether it's, paid for or free certifications, we're always kind of sending each other, resources to utilize, whether we're working in detection or it's just something that we can, learn in our free time. There's always somebody or something that we can learn. I definitely know that we have like a community bookshelf that will utilize, different things like malware analysis books, the SysP book, just a bunch of different resources that we can use. I know at some point I was reading Windows Internals Part 1 that I think Easy may have at home, and we were just kind of like going back and forth dishing, and I got through that entire book. Don't ask me how. I did it. It's very tough. But yes, CrowdStrike does provide resources to further education.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the company and the people especially within it do a very good job at providing those resources. There's the paid or there's training that the company will pay for starters, which is always really nice, right? And there's also a lot of we do a pretty good job at sharing resources amongst each other. So things like well, pretty much just anything that will help us do our job, right? Or write-ups of certain technical information that we can, well, that can help us really learn more of what it is that we're doing. I'd say within certain resources that we have, it's pretty much like almost a course in itself, right? So I think it's here, absolutely.
Yay, that is awesome. I always love to share these resources with our students because it's one thing to learn on the job and another thing to realize that teams have budgets set aside to continue to grow and develop the skill sets of our employees, which is amazing because we know that the cost of these certs, the cost of studying for XYZ does add up. So it's always great to see that the teams are able to support that learning. And with that, in the same vein of learning here, got a question from Nick here. Do you have any tips for individuals with a lot of IT experience looking to move into a cybersecurity role?
That's a really good question. Um, I would I would actually say I personally have a lot of IT experience prior to my SOC roles. I would just say keep applying. It doesn't matter where you're applying to, just keep applying. You just need one company to take that chance on you to put something on your resume. And then from there, you can obviously start building up your experience and your resume from there. Um, I can tell you that I worked at Best Buy for some time. I was in sales, so I didn't do anything with IT related, but I knew how to fix things. And so a lot of my time was spent over at Geek Squad, trying to actually convince customers not to take their stuff to Geek Squad, and that they could just fix it at home, really. But yeah, a lot of it is, I mean, a lot of your IT background, you don't realize how much you're actually going to use it while you're looking through detections. So I would just say keep applying. Again, it doesn't matter where, just apply, apply, apply.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a different take with it. So prior to CrowdStrike, I only had school and certifications really under my belt. And I was able to get into well, one of the big companies just fresh off the gate. And I think part of or a lot of that had to do with self-studying and creating a solid or creating or developing the skill sets needed for the roles that I was looking for, right? And having something that can prove that, right? So the best example is always going to be like a project for like and some type of project to prove some type of skill set. So maybe if you're trying to go to Falcon Complete, literally download malware and do the full remediation within a VM, write it all up, and then you have a report and put that on your resume. I'm a strong believer that anything really is possible, including making like jumps like that. Jumping from IT to cybersecurity, you're already like one step ahead, honestly, just having IT experience and developing the methodology there, and being able to put the IT experience on your resume. So all that's really left is proving the cybersecurity part. So I don't know too much about I don't know anything about your particular scenario, but the best tip I could really give is pick a skill set, fall in love with it, and develop it as much as you can, and have something that can prove that. And that's going to really help to put on your resume.
So thank you both for your takes and for sharing that this transition is possible. I do see some more questions in the chat here, and I think I'm going to merge some of them together for my next question for you all. And so I have had some students also, just from my other recruiting events, share that um, they are interested in the field, but they're not too sure how to get that experience or to get their foot in the door. And so, do you have any advice on ways to get some of that experience on their resume to be able to learn new skills? Any uh, YouTube channels for cybersecurity information or other platforms to continue learning, things to be able to build up some of that experience?
Um, yeah, so as far as that goes, I know there's a lot of websites out there. Try Hack Me, Hack the Box. Those are some to really, really challenge you, especially if you go through just the boxes alone and you try to figure it out step by step. As far as YouTube channels go, Cyber Mentor is one that I watch a lot. Another one that I do, I forgot his name, but he has a big bushy beard and he basically talks about like a lot of the servers that he will mess with. And that he has like I don't know, he just has a big server rack in his room and that's all I see. Thank you. Yes, Network Chuck. Um, but I really think Hack the Box is probably one of the more challenging ones. There's a whole bunch that I could, reference that I use. CTF Times, that one actually posts a lot of like upcoming CTFs that you can participate in. A lot of them are free. Some of them you do have to pay for. I know Eugene mentioned something in the questions about certifications. Um, I was always told, and I've kind of, taken this with me, is that anyone can study for a certification and pass it. How can you apply what you're learning to real world scenarios? So I'm not saying don't take certifications. I definitely think that they are great and they kind of force you to learn material, but put yourself in a real life situation. You're studying for Security Plus, Network Plus, why do you want to close off port 3389? Why is, this port 22 that's open suspicious looking? So those are things that, you definitely have to consider when you're looking at these certs. But that's my take on it.
I'm so sorry. What was the question again?
You're all good. Question was, how do you get that experience, to build up your resume? Are there any resources that you would recommend to help folks continue learning?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, um, I can really talk to that because I had to pretty much go through all that on my own before. Uh, the best way to get experience is just to make your own, right? And to talk more specifically, what that means is I quite literally mean doing really in-depth and intricate projects for starters, getting to like a high ranking within like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, what was the other one? Or participating within CTFs and doing or like killing it there. Um, like the list kind of goes on and on, but all of them have kind of like that same common denominator of you were proactive on completely on your own and did something cybersecurity related that requires a certain amount of dedication, right? I think the dedication is the most important part there, just because it'll show if it shows that it took a lot of time, that's really going to stand out. There's a few projects that I remember doing prior to CrowdStrike. The one that really struggled with the most, and I had a lot of fun with, was I called it like the red versus blue project, where I had like a really vulnerable machine, and then I had the actual attacker machine, and I would pop the vulnerable machine, uh, harden it, and do the forensics as well, and then go back and then keep going back and forth until I just couldn't. And tell you the truth, I didn't get very far. I didn't do many rounds, but having that experience and being able to use that experience within interviews and just put it on my resume, I think it really helped stand out. For resources, honestly, most of the good ones are going to be paid, right? That's the unfortunate truth. It depends. It really just depends on which route you go. I could speak mostly to forensics and incident response because that's where I'm at. The best training I can think of would be that I believe it was the cyber defenders one that recently was out, but it's pretty pricey. But they do offer like labs and challenges that you can do for a pretty cheap cost. I think it's like $10 a month. It's like a hack the box equivalent for forensics and incident response. So that's a more specific resource one, or more specific resources for that one. But really, tying it all together, the best thing I can say honestly is just having those projects on your own and putting them on your resume. The longer it takes, honestly, the better.
Well, I appreciate both of you sharing all these resources. You're both a wealth of knowledge. And I know we still have so many questions in the chat, but I also want to be mindful of your time. And so I'm going to try to, again, condense some of these questions together. Um, I know we have a question at the top here, so we are going to, again, stay in the same vein of learning and continuing to grow in your career here. And so I know that y'all are also part of the recruiting and interview process, not just for interns, but also for some of our full-time employees. And so when you are either reviewing resumes or when you're going through the interviews, do you look at any of the personal blogs or websites that folks list on their resumes, or any of their, say, Try Hack Me or Hack the Box profiles on their resumes too? And also, what kind of projects are you usually looking for, which could also serve as really great conversation topics during the interviews?
I so for me, when I've done interviews in the past here, if somebody says that they have like a GitHub repo or like a Medium blog, I will go look at it just out of curiosity. I genuinely just want to see like, what they're interested in. Some of the ones I've seen in the past are like, vulnerability analysis, threat hunting on, I think one of them had like a honeypot that they used, and they had some write-ups on like some of the threat hunting that they were doing on it. So I thought those were really, really cool and interesting. And it also just gave me ideas, what to use, what to post on my Medium blog. Um, but I mean, yeah, I think those are really great resources. If you post things like on your resume, such as like, your top whatever percent of Try Hack Me, I do find that very, very impressive because it takes a lot of dedication to be in, that top 10% or higher. So I definitely do take all that into consideration. Really, any interesting projects that you may put on your resume, things that you're interested in, even if they're completely not school related, I think are great. It just kind of shows that, you're always willing to learn and you're always wanting to learn. And that's definitely what hiring managers from any company are going to look for, just to see if, you're constantly wanting to, hone your craft and really start to master some of the things of cybersecurity. So that's my personal take on it. So yeah.
Yeah, my what I look for is pretty one-to-one, honestly, with Ali. It's just I focus a lot on what they're interested in, and kind of see, and I also want to see how far they've gone with it, right? Like how much how and it, when they have things like GitHub repos or Medium articles, I'll try my best to take a look at them, because usually those write-ups will have like a lot of information and give me a lot of insight into the methodology used by them. And I think methodology is pretty vital when especially in this field. So that's another thing I also be kind of looking for, and see what I can pull just based on what's on their resume.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for sharing a little bit of insight into what goes on behind the scenes and things that you look out for. As we head into our final question here in our last few minutes, got a question a little bit earlier. I didn't forget, but I want to bring it up now. what is your favorite part about working at CrowdStrike?
There's too many. It could be, you know, our team outings. It could be just like us just getting together on a weekend and just, you know, going to see a movie or gaming together. That's always fun. But there's just way too many to really condense it down to one thing. I would say the swag is really cool. It's really, really cool that we have like a employee swag store. And like we have like pretty cool merch. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've worked for some companies where it's like very generic stuff. But this is like actually like I mean, come on, like it's Nike, like a Nike polo, CrowdStrike, like that's awesome. Of course I want a CrowdStrike Nike polo. I'm a Spurs fan. I don't even have a Spurs Nike polo. Like, come on. So yeah, I mean, there's way too many. I mean, as we said in the beginning, like just working here has just been nothing but a positive experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just being here is kind of like almost the best part in it itself, to tell you the truth. There's so much comes with it. Personally, I think for me, the reason or the I really enjoy being able to be on the front lines of what's going on in our world, right? And be able to make a difference with that. Not all incidents are always going to be like that, but there's certain incidents at your work that you know what you did, like save something, or and that you helped someone, like you made a difference, and that's always been a very big motivation for me to well to keep going, right? So just being here and having an opportunity to do that, it's everything to me. So that's for me, that's the most important part, the best part I love about here. The people as well, second.
And just to piggyback real quick off of Easy, like when I was in undergrad, I wanted to be a dentist, got into dental school, started it, hated it. My end goal was always to help people. I've always been like that. So even in cybersecurity, it's great because you get to see like what you start, finish out. And that is like the best part of it. You're still helping people. It may be in a way that's completely different from how I thought I was going to help people. But it's just, you know, it's awesome. You're helping people in ways that you probably don't even realize it.
Yes, thank you both so much for sharing not just, your piece of advice throughout this session, but also for giving folks a little bit more of an idea of what it's like to work here at CrowdStrike, how they can get their foot in the door, and for also sharing your experiences with us. I know that we are now at time, and so I just want to thank everybody for attending this event. I did drop in a link in the chat for y'all to continue to stay in touch with us. Again, a follow-up email will be sent out after this session. But with that, I am going to hand the baton back over to Kristen to share any closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Yes, applause, reactions for sure. So wonderful. Thank you for coordinating, Melanie, and thank you, Ala and Easy, for joining today. I will be sending out a copy of the recording tomorrow. So feel free, go back, watch it again. Uh, Everybody who registered will receive a copy. So again, thank you all so much for joining and have a great rest of your day. Bye all.
Bye, thank you.